Stand by. We're going live. We're going live. 10, 9, going live. 7, 6, 5, going live. 4, 3, 2, 1.
This is 10 Seconds to Air. I'm Alita Guillen. Happy holidays, everyone. Ho, ho, ho. We have a festive podcast today. You know, the holidays are a wonderful time of year, and they stress most of us out. There is the gift giving, the parties with friends and coworkers, the eating too much, seeing family members you want to see, and then seeing family members you don't want to see, and remembering and missing the people who are no longer with us. So it is a stressful time. Well, today's guest is going to help us sort out this time of year and give us some ideas on how to get through it without all the angst. She has got some great ideas, so don't go anywhere. Stick with us to the end. Joining me today is clinical psychologist Jill Wieder. She has spent the last 35 years helping people navigate life's complexities here in Los Angeles. She is also a mother of 3, a new grandmother, and newly married. She gets it. Jill was part of the first female graduating class at Claremont McKenna College, and she has a PhD from the California School of Professional Psychology. Welcome to 10 Seconds to Air, Jill. Thank you for taking the time out of that busy schedule for us today. Let's start with our first question, just to break the ice here, is your thoughts, what goes through your mind 10 seconds before that big moment, maybe meeting with some of your new clients, coming over here today, and be honest with us, okay?
Well, the truth is that I get a little nervous when I'm going to meet someone new or present something. And so I try to do a thing which is not focus on it right before. Think about something else, clear my head, be in the moment. But I don't do a lot of planning right before I'm going to meet someone or do something new. I really thought block it. And I jump into it sort of what we call phenomenologically, meaning I just jump into the experience and let it overtake me.
And coming here today, any thoughts before you were headed into the door here?
Today I got a little nervous that I was going to do this podcast. And I was speaking to my sister on the phone and she said, tell me about the podcast. And I said, no, I'll tell you about it on my way home. I'm not going to think about it. I'm just going to do it.
I'll tell you about it afterwards. So interesting that that's what goes through your mind. And you meet with a lot of new people.
All the time. But I really do a jump in the deep end.
You do a jump in the deep end.
That's how I do it.
Yeah. And how do you finally, what's the moment where you finally kind of get there as opposed to you just blocking it?
Pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Right? Really when it starts, when I'm in the actual event, like once I saw you today, or once I have a new patient or client who comes into my office, once they're there and it's face to face, everything relaxes for me.
Yeah. How did you end up getting into psychology?
It was kind of a circuitous path. I started out by wanting to be an animal behaviorist when I started college. And there's not a lot of money in that. And then I
pay the bills.
No,
like we're telling our kids.
No question about that. I wanted to study chimpanzees, which wasn't going to, lead for a great life. And then I moved that to, I have a love of children. And so I was going to be a advocate lawyer for adolescents. So I was going to go to law school. And then when I started working with adolescents, I realized that the lawyers aren't the people that spend the time with them. It's the psychologists that spend the time with them. So after that, I moved by my senior year of college into psychology.
And interesting, your senior year of college, you were at Claremont McKenna. You were the first female class. How was that?
It wasn't called Claremont McKenna when I went there. It was called Claremont Men's College. They hadn't even changed the name yet. They didn't change the name till 5 years after I graduated. So my diploma says Claremont Men's College. And it had been a men's college, I don't know, for over 75 years probably. And we were the first class of women, and it was great because it was 8 women and 800 men.
Did you meet your husband there?
No, I did not. But I had a lot of potential there.
Yeah. And wow, only 8 women.
8 women.
Do you remember them at all? Do you keep in touch with any of them?
No, but I saw a few of them at our 40-year reunion.
Yeah. What are they doing now?
Various things.
Yeah.
Various things.
So thank you so much for, thinking about holidays and all of that. I'm so curious, as you being the psychologist, how you actually get through the holidays. Is it a stressful time for you?
I would say it's twofold. Yes, it's stressful because my kids live across the country. And so they come for the holidays, which is not the stressful part. I'm very excited about that. But having a house full of people for 10 days navigating everybody's likes and dislikes, making everybody happy. That's a little bit stressful, but I have lots of strategies on how to deal with that. And I think I mentioned the most stressful part for me really is them leaving and it going from being a full house to an empty house.
And what are the biggest stressors for you? Let's start with you. What are the biggest stressors for you at this time of year?
I would say, like everybody else, making everybody happy. Trying to have a holiday where everybody's needs are met, where all our meals are well, where everybody has what they want, where there's enough activities but not too many activities, and where everybody leaves happy and everybody gets time with one another, quality time.
That's a lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure and takes a lot of planning, which is sort of the key, I think, to getting through the holidays, which is planning them before they happen. I mean, we know what the holidays are like. I have kids that are 35 years old. This is my 35th holiday with them. I know what it's going to bring. And so I can anticipate and I can plan better. And I think when we go into the holidays anticipating, whether it's with, like you said, family members that we want to see or don't want to see, how to handle it. Family members who have likes and dislikes and food allergies and specifications of what they need or don't need. If we think about this ahead of time, then it doesn't land on us. Then we're prepared for it and not blindsided by it.
Yeah. So where do we start? Because I don't know about other people, but I just say yes to everything. And then I look at the calendar and I almost can't breathe. So I really pack my schedule. I know I do that, but I mean, that's what I'm planning. So you're saying planning for it. I guess I am planning for it.
Yes, you are. But then again, you have to look at you. You have to take yourself. If this is what happens to you every year, that you plan too much, then you have to know this about yourself. And you have to decide and have a priority system. And you also have to talk about this with your husband or your kids or who's ever involved in these activities. Like, what are the most important things to do? I'm a big planner. My kids always say to me, "Oh, you've planned so many things, Mom." And so I try. I'm not great at this to include them and say, okay, we're going to have 3 nights where we have people over as opposed to every night where we have people over. And what are the most important activities? We have, over Thanksgiving, we have a Thanksgiving dinner with family. And then the next night we have a Friendsgiving with karaoke. Those are 2 things my kids would never give up, those 2 nights. Right. So I know those are happening. But, if they want to do things on other nights, we navigate that. We want downtime where we're just in our pajamas watching TV and no one else is coming.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about what are the biggest stressors for the holidays. We've talked about family. Yeah. Food, maybe? What are the ones that you see with your clients, the most things that people are talking about?
Food is one.
Yeah.
Money is one. I would say that the more psychological things are empty nesters dealing with the holidays. Probably perfectionists that want their holiday to be perfect. I'm going to say single people. That's a big one. Single people on the holidays. And yeah, tied into that, gift giving.
Let's start with that. Let's start with the gift giving.
Gift giving puts a lot of stress on people sometimes because they want that falls a little bit into perfectionist. They want everything to be right. We have to remember that gift giving is more about feeling and sharing and loving people than it is about how much money you've spent or the gift being perfect. One of the things I really like is having families, especially when you have children at home, younger children, make things for each other. And making things can be anything from baking a cake or cookies to writing a poem to making a CD to painting something. The idea that I like to give to my children, for example, is that the time you spend on something is really, really valuable and is really, truly a gift. And it's not about the money that you spend on them.
Yeah, because not everyone has the same financial, pocket that they're coming from.
And kids need to know that that's what gift giving is about, giving of themselves. Gift giving isn't about money. Normally, kids don't even have money. Yeah. So teaching them that their time is valuable and their time is a gift, meaning that that what they can do with that time, whatever it is worthwhile.
I like that. Wow.
I also think that when you put a financial cap on things, especially for young people, not only children, I'm talking about young adults who are just starting to make money, that you decide on a financial price limit for what gifts are. Like, we're each going to give a gift to somebody, and it's not going to be more than $50.
Yeah.
That's the budget.
Right. Yeah, that is a good idea.
Right.
And what about, there's a lot of stress also, I have to say, between spouses, right? What do you give your spouse? They can buy just about anything for themselves. So that's a struggle.
I think that is a struggle. I think that sometimes spouses give you an idea of what they want or what don't want. And I would say good listening is good throughout the year. I do that. I listen really carefully throughout the year for ideas. I also think that sometimes the gift doesn't have to be something concrete. Sometimes it can be tickets to something that you know your spouse loves, or a weekend away that you know that you guys need. That the gift doesn't always have to be something that you open like a sweater or a pair of shoes, but it could be an experience. And you never run out of experiences, or you shouldn't, that you
like
want to
that.
have with your spouse.
Yeah, that is good. Okay, let's bounce over to food.
Okay.
I have a bunch of girls coming to the house in a little while. They're going to be making Christmas cookies. I can't wait to dive into the Christmas cookies, but I'm going to be honest, I worry about it a little bit.
It goes back again, Alita, to planning. Everyone has to think about the fact that they are going to eat more over the holidays. We all do. If you think you're going to go into it and not do that, you're fooling yourself. So the idea is to accept that and plan for it. If you accept it, you kind of have to look at your month, look at Thanksgiving through Christmas and New Year's, and say, okay, there are certain nights, there are certain days where these are my family traditions, and I'm going to eat. And I'm going to enjoy it. I'm really going to enjoy it, because on the other days, I'm going to eat very clean, and I'm going to continue my workout, whatever my workout is, through the whole month of December. If you are doing things in moderation, meaning you're eating sometimes and not saying, okay, I'm taking the month of December off and eating every day, but these are the days in which I'm going to eat because it's worth it to me, and these are the days in which I'm going to eat really clean to compensate for the times that I don't. If you plan it, you're going to feel much better come January 1st.
Yeah, and definitely not a time to diet.
No. That's beyond unreasonable.
Yeah. And I guess that's part of also what you're talking about, planning and having kind of an awareness, and what you just said, being reasonable. Reasonable is, that's kind of a great way to say it. What is reasonable? We have party after party. You say yes to things. You go to someone's house. It's not really reasonable to say, oh, now's the time. I'm not going to have dessert. I'm not going to.
It's not at all the time to do that. And I think people set themselves up for failure when they do that. They really do. It's a combination of being reasonable and prioritizing. Prioritizing is, these are the places where the food's going to be good.
Yeah.
I'm not going to miss out on this. The next day, I don't have to have leftovers. I don't have to go out every night. I can decide on the parties that I want to go to, and I can prioritize the ones that are important and the ones that I'm going to eat at.
Yeah. And I also like how you said to be also keeping your activity going. Make sure you keep exercising, because what happens if you don't? Right.
Well, so many people do a thing where if they have a bad night of eating, then they're just like, okay, they give up, and this is just going to be a bad month, or this is going to be a bad week, or I'm going to throw everything to the wind.
They spiral.
They go down a rabbit hole. And the key is, if you accept that you're going to eat, you're not going to punish yourself for eating.
Yeah.
And punishing is like, I don't care anymore. I'm going to eat this meal, and then I'm just going to watch TV or sit on my couch. But if you accept that you're going to eat it, you plan the next day, I'm going to go for a hike. Which then adds into my concept, family time. So many people associate with eating, meals together and things like that.
Definitely.
But you know what? Family time can also be about exercise. Family time can be great walks or hikes or bike rides together, or playing tennis together, or pickleball, or whatever your family does. Those are great family things to do when everybody's together on the holidays. Family time doesn't have to be only about meals.
Yeah, right. Let's segue right into that family time, because there's some family time that we look forward to, and there's some family time we don't look forward to, and there's some family members that are are a little unpleasant, and everyone has kind of this different dynamic, right? There's a lot that happens. It can be pretty messy for some people and some families. What do you think about how to get through that?
So I'm going to address first the idea that there are family members that are difficult. Okay, I think everybody has that to a certain degree. And I think the idea of that is when family members are getting together for a holiday and we know there's going to be some difficult members, you have to share the load.
Oh, I like that.
You really do. It's not everybody together all the time. It's even saying to your kids or your siblings or whatever, you need to take this hour with mom, or you need to take this time with grandma. This is your specific time for this hour or this period of time to do something with the difficult person. So the other people have a reprieve.
That's such a great idea, because so many times I think you've got to sit,
Right.
everyone's got to sit in the same room
Not
together.
at all.
We all got to do it together.
And you know
if there's a difficult one, I love that you designate a kid to play a game with that person.
Absolutely,
or
or
to
take a walk.
Take a walk.
Or read something with them, or go through photographs with them. But that person is like on call for that period of time,
Yeah.
which gives everybody else a reprieve. And if you have enough people around, there are several hours that can be taken up with that time. And also that person feels special
Yeah.
because they're getting that time, even if they're high maintenance people. So that was one of the things I was going to say to you about it, about the dysfunctional families. And the other thing, it is the key that everybody doesn't have to be together all the time, that there's quality time is way more valuable than quantity time. And I think people lose sight of that all year, but especially on the holidays.
So what exactly does that mean?
It means if you have a family coming, your kids and your grandkids or your cousins, taking out time to have one-on-one time, to go for a walk, to go get a coffee, to play a game of tennis, to spend that one-on-one time, even if it's a brief period of time, you get a lot more out of that than everybody being together all the time. And as much as you can do that, especially with the people you haven't seen in a while, get that one-on-one time with them. It's super valuable and it goes a long way.
So let's say you are having a difficult time with one of these family members. You're dreading going in. How do you mentally prepare for that? I get this tangible, I'm going to have my kids do this. I'm going to have, I get all that. But let's say you don't have control over that. And you're going into a situation where you can't stand going to this house. You got to go every year. How do you mentally prepare for that, to maybe put yourself in a different place, to not go down that rabbit hole maybe?
Here's the thing, Alita. I don't really think there's any situations where you go to where there's nothing good you can find about it. I really don't.
Okay.
I think if you're going to go into a difficult situation like somebody's house you don't want to go to, it's because there's someone there or a few people there that you're not interested in. It's very rare that there's no one there that you're interested in. If that's the case, you shouldn't be going.
Yeah.
But if you go, I would focus on the positive. I would spend my time and my energy with the people who you care about and who you want to spend time with, and less focus on the people that you don't want to fraternize with. They don't have to be your focus. Put them in the background and focus on the reason that you're there and the people that you're there for. Great
idea. Love that. Love that. Okay, we talked about loneliness. You mentioned that. This can be a lonely time. I mentioned that actually when I told my husband that, you were coming over, we were going to do this, we were talking about it, and one of the things was loneliness. And he, his response was like, loneliness? It's the holidays. You're around so many people. And I think a lot of people think like that, right? You're with a lot of people over the holidays. You can be in a room, you can be in New York City, right? And then people say they're lonely. What is that about? Explain that.
Sometimes people are lonely, I think. One, because they're not with who they want to be with or who they imagine to be with. Meaning like single people, even though they're around people, have a lot of trouble on the holidays. And it's a struggle for them. Or people who are far away from their families. Or people who are missing people. I think you mentioned something like people who are missing people they've lost on the holiday. That can bring up loneliness for people. And, there are ways around that. One is, again, to plan for it, to know, particularly for single people, to plan who you want to be with on the holidays and to make that happen. Single people really do need to think about getting out of town and going to visit people, inviting people to stay with them, actually making plans on the holidays. They don't surprise us. The holidays actually come
Right,
every year.
right.
So you can plan ahead and make a plan to be with other people. But the other thing is, in this day and age, we're very lucky because we have things, and I think we learned a lot more about this during COVID. We have ways to be with people that are far away and can't get to each other through Zoom and FaceTime that I don't think we utilized before. And I have to say to you, that's a magical tool. You can have dinner with someone on Zoom. You can actually set up your dinner with someone across the country who sets up their dinner and set up your iPad and have a full dinner with someone 3,000 miles away. Those things are invaluable. I even know with my kids when we were away, we used to play family games where we would put the screen on the television and we would be in 3 different states and all be able to play a game together at the same time. Or my son and I used to watch a show every week. He would be in New York or Atlanta, and every week we would get together on our computers. We'd be able to FaceTime with each other, so we're seeing each other, and watch a show together every week and talk about it as if we were in the same room. Those are the same kinds of things you can now plan on the holidays, to be with loved ones even if they're not there.
That's a great idea. But then there are other people that are no longer with us. Right. You miss them.
Yes, and I think that's part of the grieving process, to know that annually, especially on holidays, it's hard. And I think sharing the grief with other people that miss those same people is a real good way to do it, and to talk about them. To use that time when your families are together to talk about members of your family that you miss and have everybody share memories about that person brings you together. And when grief is shared, it's a lot less heavy.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Well, we go through the holiday, Hanukkah, Christmas, all this time, and then we come to New Year's. Mm-hmm. And I always find New Year's to be a lot of pressure. You have to have a big plan. You have to fireworks, everything. What do you make of that?
Well, I'm a little older than you, Alita, so I don't have that anymore. I think New Year's...
Well, I shouldn't have that.
Right?
We're not that far apart.
I think New Year's is a time, it's more of a beginning of a new time, a new year. I look at it something like a fresh start. So there are a couple of things I like to do on the New Year's. My plan is normally just to be with close friends. I love a staying in New Year's where we cook dinner together, and this year we're going, my best friends and I, we're going to cook dinner together and watch the new Sebastian Maniscalco stand-up.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we're going to laugh our way into the new year.
Yeah, I love that.
But I do believe people go into the new year or can go into the new year with fresh thoughts. Like one of the things I do with couples, I work with a lot of couples. And I had read about this in a novel one time, and I started using it with my couples, which is a way to put the troubles of the past year behind you and start fresh, is being able to write down on little pieces of paper different grievances that you've had over the past year with your spouse. You could also do this with kids or friends, but write them down on little scraps of paper. Sit in front of a fireplace or something like that. Be able to state the grievance and then throw it into the fire.
Oh.
Which is actually a way to say, this is something that I struggled with last year.
Oh, I love that.
And
Writing it down.
And I am actually letting go of it, and I'm throwing it in the fireplace.
Okay.
And this is now behind us, and we're starting afresh.
Not the time to bring it up and say...
Not a time to talk about it. This is a time of letting go of it. This is something that we dealt with last year that was hard. And rather than holding on to it, I'm letting go of it. And I think actually the physical aspect of taking the piece of paper and throwing it into the fire is saying, I'm over this. I'm forgiving this, and I'm moving forward.
Great idea. Okay.
So...
You also mentioned staycations with the kids and having people have a say in what they're going to do. I like that.
This is
Talk a little
another
about
sort
that.
of family thing that my family did, and I've used it with many of my families that I treat. Sometimes people, for whatever reason, whether it's financial reasons or logistics reasons, can't get out of town over the holidays. Staycations are wonderful. One of the ideas is that every family member gets to design a day from beginning to end. and that everyone in the family, with no complaints,
Yeah.
because everybody gets this day, has to do that day and go along with a good attitude. So that when we did it with our family, I had kids that were teenagers, and I also had a 6-year-old or 7-year-old, and my husband and myself. And so we planned days starting in the morning. On the 6-year-old's day, it's pancakes for breakfast in Legoland. With one of my older sons, it was taking the metro downtown and going to Amoeba Records and Guitar Store. And another son, it might have been going to Color Me Mine, which isn't everybody's favorite thing to do, but they get to design the meals, they get to design the activities, and I can't tell you how much fun it actually turns out to be.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Right.
That sounds great. A difference between men and women during the holidays. Do you see that with clients?
Yes,
Yeah,
of course. I don't think men get nearly as stressed about the holidays as women.
Why?
Because we're the homemakers. No matter how progressive we are, it falls on us to do the planning. It falls on us. In this day and age, we like to think men and women are equal. And I think we're equally capable. I think that's true. But I don't think equal ever has happened yet. Even in child rearing, even in all the ways that men will say, I'll do 50% of the work. I think they're willing to do 50% of the work, but I think women still have to do the delegating. I think it doesn't occur to men like, oh, we're having people over for dinner. We need to put together a whole list of, who likes what and what we need to cook. They're really good if you say, you do the barbecuing, or you go to the market and get these things. They can do that, but they don't stay up at night making the list in their head. It's just not, I don't think, genetically
Really?
how men work.
That's not what he's thinking about? He's not thinking about that menu?
Not a bit. Not a bit. And so that's the difference. Women have many compartments. And we live in all of our compartments all the time. Men also have compartments, but they're able to stay in one compartment at a time, and they are able to compartmentalize much better than women. And I think that that's genetic. I think that that's history. I don't think we can fight that. And I think the women who get frustrated that their husbands aren't thinking ahead, I think it's a losing battle. Instead of getting frustrated about that, get better at delegating, and you'll have a more even holiday in terms of who does what.
So don't get tied up in the, why isn't he thinking about that? Or why is it?
It's a losing battle.
No, maybe that's one of those let goes.
That is one of those let goes.
I'm not going to be frustrated because you didn't come up with the menu for
I'm
the
going to
holiday.
learn that that's not going to happen. And if I want help with it, I have to ask for it.
Okay. So, wow, I love all of these great ideas, these tips. I want to kind of go through all of them. Any more that I didn't ask you? Because now I want to kind of recap them and put them all in sort of in one place.
The only other thing I would say that I like to do on the holidays is focusing on what you're grateful for. And I think that that's a really important, I think we should always do that. But I think there's a time of year where you can really do that and be specific about it. One of the activities that we did on several Thanksgivings, which I also liked, is we had a bowl, and the bowl was filled with sand, and we each had a candle, everyone in my family. And we went around the room, and everybody lit their candle and stuck it in the sand and said something they were really grateful for that year. There's a million different ways to do this. You can go around a dinner table and do it. Sometimes it's nice to do something concrete, like a candle, or like something that you pass around a table so the person is holding the stone or the rock or the piece of wood and it's their turn to talk. But the idea that for a moment, you really sit and think about something you're very, very thankful and grateful for, and you share it with everybody that you love.
Yeah, because the holidays aren't supposed to be all about all this stuff and all this. We put all this stress on us. I mean, the reason we look forward to it is because we do get to take a minute, spend time with people we love, or at least that's what we're supposed to do, right? People, for the most part, people are not working between that last week of December, so we're home together a lot. I mean, really, I just want to enjoy it. I want to enjoy it so much.
That's really, the longer you do holidays and the older you get, the more you realize it's not about the things, it's about the people. It's not about the perfect dinner. It's not about the perfect gift. It's about sitting there and taking the moment to look around the room at all the people and taking a deep breath and saying, so many people I love are in this room. So many people I love are here right now. And this is totally what it's all about.
Jill, I have to say, even talking to you, you walking in the room, just as soon as you started speaking, I think I calmed down. So I don't want you to go anywhere. Do you have plans for the rest of, I need you for the next 2 weeks. So I hope that this was not as scary as you thought it was going to be on your way over.
You know, not a bit. Once I got started, it rolled.
Right. It rolled right up. Okay, let's just recap. Let's touch on some of these things that you mentioned because I want to put them all in one place. So for whoever's listening, that they can kind of get a takeaway and a recap of this. We can start with, I feel like you talked about planning was a big piece of what you talked about. And if you can plan with all of these pieces, whether it's meals, who's coming to dinner, where you're headed, that seems to be a big piece of this holiday puzzle.
Yeah, absolutely. Planning, thinking ahead, and being realistic.
Okay.
And reasonable.
Okay. So I'm going to just touch on these couple pieces that you said and give me the takeaway for that one. All right, let's do that so people have this fresh. The gift giving.
It's not about how much money you spend, and it's not about perfection. It's about something from your heart and something you took time with.
Overeating.
Plan ahead and be realistic. Know you're going to eat more on the holidays. Keep up your exercise and have certain days where you don't eat and plan for the ones that you do.
Family gatherings. Stressful people at the family table.
Delegate. Have quality time with the people that you want to be with. Make sure you get one-on-one time, and delegate to have different family members take on the burden of the difficult people so that it's shared.
Loneliness and missing those loved ones.
Again, planning to spend time with them or having time with them over FaceTime and Zoom, and making sure to connect with them.
And the people that are no longer with us.
Sharing the grief. Talking about them, keeping their memories alive.
New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve, thinking of it as, instead of a pressure, as a fresh start, as something positive. Looking forward to the year ahead, making plans of letting go of things that you want to move past, and being open to things for the future.
And the overall that you just said that I love about looking around the room when you are there, about being present and being really thankful for this moment that you do have and focusing on positive.
Yep.
I
That's
love
what it's
that.
all about, the people.
It's all about the people. Anything else I didn't ask you? This was fantastic. You really lifted my spirits now.
Oh, good.
I'm going to eat my Christmas cookie tonight. I'm going to feel good about it. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to focus on people who I really love. And I'm going to plan. I feel like that's a big piece. I'm going to plan. I'm going to take the pressure off of that perfectionist gift. What if they don't like it? What? I might just make stuff. I don't know.
Making stuff is really, you'd be surprised how touched people are when you make stuff.
I hope you have a great holiday.
Thank you so much. It's been so great so far.
And a great new year. And I hope you come back. And there's so much for us to talk about. I think that you always have such great advice and such thoughtful things to say. And I really hope that you share those with us more.
Thank you. I love being here.